Hello everyone, and welcome back to Life Insight. We've reached the final part of our discussion about communication strategies. What is communication? Communication is much more than simply talking to another person. It is the process of sharing ideas, feelings, knowledge, and experiences in a way that allows people to understand one another. Every day, we communicate with our family, friends, classmates, co-workers, and even strangers. We communicate through words, facial expressions, body language, emails, text messages, and social media. Good communication creates trust, strengthens relationships, and helps people solve problems together. Poor communication, on the other hand, often causes confusion, misunderstandings, and unnecessary conflicts. That is why communication is considered one of the most valuable life skills anyone can develop. Whether you are a student, an employee, a business owner, or a leader, your success often depends on how well you communicate with others. Why is communication important? Communication is important because it connects people. Without communication, we would not be able to express our thoughts, explain our needs, or understand the feelings of others. In every workplace, effective communication improves teamwork, increases productivity, and reduces mistakes. In families, it helps build love and trust. In friendships, it creates stronger emotional connections. Even in difficult situations, honest and respectful communication can solve many problems before they become serious. People who communicate clearly are usually seen as confident, reliable, and professional. They are also more likely to become successful leaders because they know how to motivate, encourage, and inspire others. What is a communication strategy? A communication strategy is a planned way of sharing information to achieve a specific goal. Instead of speaking without thinking, you choose the best words, tone, timing, and method to communicate your message effectively. For example, if you want to explain a complicated idea to a child, you will use simple language and examples. If you are speaking to your manager, you may use more professional language. If you are trying to solve a conflict, you should stay calm and listen carefully before responding. A communication strategy helps people avoid misunderstandings and ensures that the message is received correctly. It is not only about speaking well, but also about understanding the audience and adapting your communication style to different situations. What makes someone a good communicator? A good communicator has several important qualities. First, they listen carefully instead of interrupting others. Second, they speak clearly and confidently so people can understand their message. Third, they show respect by using polite language and maintaining positive body language. Fourth, they ask thoughtful questions to make sure they understand the conversation correctly. Finally, they are flexible because they know that different people have different personalities, cultures, and communication styles. Good communicators are not born with these skills. They develop them through practice, experience, and continuous learning. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to improve. What is active listening? Active listening is one of the most effective communication strategies. It means giving your full attention to the speaker instead of thinking about what you will say next. Active listeners maintain eye contact, nod to show understanding, avoid distractions, and ask follow-up questions. They also repeat or summarize important points to confirm they understood correctly. This simple habit makes people feel respected and valued. When someone feels heard, they become more open, honest, and willing to cooperate. Active listening also prevents misunderstandings because both people are focused on understanding each other instead of simply waiting for their turn to speak. Why do misunderstandings happen? Misunderstandings happen for many reasons. Sometimes people do not listen carefully. Sometimes they assume they already know what the other person means. Cultural differences, emotional stress, poor word choice, unclear instructions, and different communication styles can also create confusion. Technology has made communication faster, but it has also created new challenges because text messages and emails do not always show emotions clearly. A simple sentence can sound friendly to one person but rude to another. To reduce misunderstandings, it is helpful to ask questions, clarify important information, and avoid making assumptions. Clear communication requires patience from everyone involved. How can body language improve communication? Body language is often just as important as spoken words. Your facial expressions, posture, eye contact, hand gestures, and even your tone of voice send powerful messages. A warm smile can make people feel comfortable. Good eye contact shows confidence and honesty. Standing with good posture demonstrates professionalism. On the other hand, crossing your arms, avoiding eye contact, or constantly checking your phone may suggest that you are bored or not interested. Successful communicators pay attention to both verbal and nonverbal communication because they understand that people often believe what they see more than what they hear. Why should we ask questions? Asking questions is an excellent communication strategy because it shows curiosity and encourages deeper conversations. Questions help us gather information, solve problems, and understand different perspectives. They also prevent misunderstandings before they become bigger issues. Instead of pretending to understand something, it is much better to ask for clarification. In the workplace, asking questions demonstrates responsibility because it shows that you care about doing the job correctly. In personal relationships, thoughtful questions show genuine interest in another person's feelings and experiences. Good conversations are built on both speaking and asking meaningful questions. How can we speak more confidently? Speaking confidently takes practice rather than natural talent. Preparation is one of the best ways to build confidence before an important conversation or presentation. Organize your ideas and practice saying them aloud. Speak slowly, breathe naturally, and avoid rushing your words. Remember that making small mistakes is completely normal. Instead of trying to sound perfect, focus on communicating your message clearly. Confidence also grows through experience. The more conversations you have, the more comfortable you become. Over time, your fear decreases and your communication skills improve naturally. What is the biggest communication lesson? The biggest communication lesson is that understanding is more important than simply speaking. Many people believe communication is about talking, but true communication happens only when both people understand each other. This requires patience, empathy, respect, and active listening. Every conversation is an opportunity to learn something new, build stronger relationships, and create positive experiences. When we communicate with kindness and honesty, we not only share information but also build trust. In today's fast-moving world, communication remains one of the most valuable skills anyone can master because it influences every part of our personal and professional lives. How can we become better listeners? Becoming a better listener is one of the smartest investments you can make in your communication skills. Many people think they are listening when they are actually just waiting for their turn to speak. True listening requires your complete attention. Put away distractions, such as your phone. Maintain comfortable eye contact and focus on the speaker's words, emotions, and body language. Avoid interrupting unless it is absolutely necessary. Instead, allow the speaker to finish before sharing your opinion. After they finish, summarize what you heard by saying something like, "So, if I understand correctly, this simple habit confirms that you understood the message correctly and makes the other person feel respected." Good listeners build stronger relationships because people naturally trust those who genuinely listen to them. Why is empathy important? Empathy is the ability to understand and appreciate another person's feelings and perspective. It is not always about agreeing with them, but about recognizing their emotions. Empathy improves communication because it reduces conflict and increases trust. When someone feels understood, they become more willing to cooperate and communicate honestly. For example, if a coworker is stressed because of a heavy workload, responding with patience instead of criticism creates a more positive conversation. Empathy also helps leaders inspire their teams. Teachers encourage students, and friends support one another during difficult times. In many situations, empathy speaks louder than advice because people often want to feel understood before they are ready to accept solutions. How should we communicate at work? Workplace communication should always be professional, respectful, and clear. Before speaking, think about your goal and choose words that are easy to understand. Give complete information instead of making people guess what you mean. When sending emails or messages, keep them organized and polite. During meetings, listen carefully to others. Contribute useful ideas and avoid interrupting colleagues. If disagreements happen, focus on solving the problem rather than blaming people. Successful workplaces depend on teamwork, and teamwork depends on communication. Employees who communicate effectively are often trusted with greater responsibilities because managers know they can work well with others and represent the organization professionally. How do we handle difficult conversations? Difficult conversations are never easy, but they can be managed successfully with the right communication strategy. First, stay calm and avoid reacting emotionally. Choose an appropriate time and place where both people can speak privately without interruptions. Begin by expressing your concerns respectfully instead of making accusations. Use statements like, "I feel concerned about," instead of "you," always, because this reduces defensiveness. Listen carefully to the other person's point of view before responding. Focus on finding solutions instead of proving who is right or wrong. Sometimes you may need to compromise, while other times you simply need to understand each other better. A respectful conversation often strengthens relationships. Even when people disagree, what role does confidence play in communication? Confidence allows people to express their ideas clearly without unnecessary fear. However, confidence does not mean speaking loudly or dominating every conversation. Real confidence comes from being prepared, respectful, and comfortable expressing your opinions. Confident speakers maintain good posture, speak at a steady pace, and make appropriate eye contact. They are also willing to admit when they do not know something because they understand that honesty builds credibility. Developing confidence takes time, but every conversation provides another opportunity to improve. The more you practice communicating, the more natural and comfortable it becomes. How can technology improve communication? Technology has completely transformed the way people communicate. Today, we can send emails, participate in video meetings, share instant messages, and collaborate with people across the world within seconds. Technology increases efficiency, especially in business, education, and international teamwork. However, it also requires responsibility. Written messages can easily be misunderstood because they do not include facial expressions or tone of voice. Therefore, it is important to write clearly, avoid unnecessary abbreviations, and proofread messages before sending them. Technology is a powerful communication tool, but it should never replace kindness, respect, and thoughtful interaction. Why should we adapt our communication style? Every person is different. Some people prefer detailed explanations, while others appreciate short and direct conversations. Some enjoy friendly discussions, while others value formal communication. A successful communicator understands these differences and adjusts accordingly. For example, when speaking to children, simple language works best. When speaking to professionals, technical language may be appropriate. When talking to someone from another culture, being respectful and avoiding assumptions is especially important. Adapting your communication style does not mean changing your personality. It means choosing the best approach to help others understand your message clearly. What mistakes should communicators avoid? Several common mistakes weaken communication: interrupting others, making assumptions, speaking too quickly, using confusing language, ignoring body language, and failing to listen carefully are among the biggest problems. Another mistake is allowing emotions such as anger or frustration to control the conversation. Once emotions become too strong, people often stop listening and start defending themselves. Good communicators remain calm, ask questions, and focus on solutions instead of arguments. They understand that every conversation is an opportunity to build trust, rather than damage relationships. How does communication affect leadership? Leadership depends heavily on communication. Great leaders inspire people through clear vision, honest conversations, and consistent encouragement. They explain expectations clearly, provide constructive feedback, and recognize the achievements of others. They also listen carefully because leadership is not only about giving instructions, but also about understanding the needs of the team. Employees are more motivated when they trust their leaders, and trust grows through open communication. Leaders who communicate with transparency create positive work environments, where people feel respected, valued, and motivated to do their best. What advice would you give to anyone who wants to improve communication? My advice is simple. Practice every day. Communication is like any other skill, it improves through consistent effort. Read books, watch skilled speakers, participate in conversations, and do not be afraid of making mistakes. Listen more than you speak, ask thoughtful questions, and always treat people with kindness and respect. Remember that the purpose of communication is not to impress others, but to create understanding. If you focus on helping people understand your message while also understanding theirs, your communication skills will continue to grow throughout your life. Strong communication opens doors to better friendships, successful careers, meaningful relationships, and lifelong opportunities. How can communication improve relationships? Communication is the foundation of every healthy relationship, whether it is between family members, friends, co-workers, or romantic partners. Strong communication creates trust, understanding, and respect. When people communicate honestly, they are more likely to solve problems before they become serious. Good communication also allows people to express appreciation, apologize sincerely, and share their feelings openly. Many relationships fail not because people stop caring about each other, but because they stop communicating effectively. Small misunderstandings can grow into large conflicts if they are ignored. On the other hand, regular conversations, active listening, and kindness can strengthen relationships for many years. Healthy communication requires patience because every person has different experiences, personalities, and expectations. The more we practice understanding others instead of judging them, the stronger our relationships become. How can we give constructive feedback? Giving constructive feedback is an important communication skill because it helps people improve without damaging their confidence. Before giving feedback, think carefully about your purpose. The goal should always be to help, not to criticize. Start by mentioning something positive before discussing areas for improvement. Be specific instead of making general statements. For example, instead of saying, "Your presentation was bad," you could say, "Your presentation had excellent information," but speaking a little more slowly would make it even easier to understand. This approach encourages improvement while maintaining respect. It is also important to choose the right time and place for feedback. Public criticism can embarrass people, while private conversations usually lead to better results. Finally, encourage questions and allow the other person to share their perspective. Feedback should always be a two-way conversation. Why is honesty important in communication? Honesty is one of the strongest foundations of effective communication. When people know you are truthful, they trust your words and your intentions. Honest communication does not mean saying everything that comes to your mind without thinking. Instead, it means expressing the truth respectfully and responsibly. Sometimes honesty requires courage because difficult conversations are uncomfortable. However, avoiding the truth often creates bigger problems later. Honest communication builds credibility in friendships, families, schools, and workplaces.
People appreciate those who are sincere, dependable, and willing to admit mistakes. Trust takes a long time to build, but only a short moment to lose. Therefore, honesty should always guide our conversations. How can communication help solve conflicts? Conflict is a normal part of life because people have different opinions, goals, and experiences. The key is not to avoid conflict, but to manage it wisely. Effective communication helps people understand each other's concerns instead of simply defending their own positions. During disagreements, it is important to remain calm, listen carefully, avoid insults, and focus on the actual problem. Looking for common goals often helps both sides find practical solutions. Compromise is sometimes necessary because successful communication is about creating win-win outcomes. Whenever possible, even when complete agreement cannot be reached, respectful communication allows people to disagree without damaging the relationship. Many conflicts become opportunities for stronger understanding when both people communicate with patience and respect. What are the qualities of an excellent communicator? Excellent communicators share several important qualities. They listen attentively, speak clearly, remain respectful, and show empathy toward others. They are confident but not arrogant. They explain complex ideas in simple language and adjust their communication style based on their audience. They also manage their emotions effectively, especially during stressful situations. Great communicators understand that every conversation is an opportunity to learn something new. Instead of trying to win every argument, they focus on building understanding. They ask thoughtful questions, welcome different opinions, and remain open to constructive feedback. These habits help them become trusted friends, respected colleagues, and successful leaders. Can communication skills be learned? Absolutely. Communication is not a talent that only a few people are born with. It is a skill that anyone can develop through consistent practice. Every conversation is a learning opportunity. Reading books, listening to experienced speakers, joining discussions, practicing public speaking, and asking for feedback all contribute to improvement. Mistakes are also valuable. Teachers, because they help us recognize areas that need attention. Even people who were once shy or nervous can become confident communicators through patience and persistence. Like learning a musical instrument or a new language, communication improves with regular practice.
What is your final advice about communication strategies? My final advice is to remember that communication is about connection, not perfection. You do not need to use complicated vocabulary or speak perfectly every time. What matters most is being clear, respectful, honest, and willing to understand others. Listen with genuine attention, speak with kindness, and always think before you respond. Every conversation leaves an impression. So choose words that encourage, inspire, and build trust. Strong communication skills can improve your education, career, friendships, family life, and personal confidence. They open doors to new opportunities and help create meaningful relationships throughout life. Never stop learning because every person you meet has something valuable to teach you. The more you communicate with patience, empathy, and confidence, the more successful and fulfilled your life can become. Communication is not simply a skill, it is one of the greatest tools we have for connecting with people, solving problems, sharing ideas, and making a positive difference in the world.